Everyone is calling and wants to know, are we going into a recession? How deep will it be? I hear this all the time. Mark, there's so many pundits and talking heads on TV that want to talk about this. Well, let's be clear. One of our biggest retailers, one of the biggest there is, this is, if you go back 25, 30, well, longer than that, probably 35 years, we would have talked maybe about Sears. I remember my grandfather, he would have looked at this beautiful table and go, Mark, that table, that's solid as Sears. Well, he could have never envisioned a world where Sears didn't exist. Because to him, back in the 70s and the 80s, that was the retailer. Well, now we have one like that for this generation. It's called Amazon. And the news coming out is over 20,000 layoffs. They're talking about 6% of the executive force, plus a pretty good percentage of the regular workers. Over 20,000 getting laid off right here at the end of the year. Almost double what projections were. So what does that mean? Is Amazon in trouble? Of course not. It's Amazon. You know where you're shopping when you want to get something overnight, just like I do. And Cyber Mondays told us this is true, that people are using online. So what does it really mean? It means this recession is real. Stop listening to the pundits that are telling you, oh, it may be okay, or we're not really in a recession. It is coming, and let's start taking action right now to prepare for what you and I both know. You're watching this video going, I know he's right about this. You're absolutely correct. I am right. The recession is going to be deep and it's coming fast. So let's start preparing right now. So what can we do? Well, how about this? Do we have a spending plan? I hate the word budget. I don't want to think that I've worked so hard in my own life to become successful only to find myself having to live on a tight budget. But I do have a spending plan in my household, a spending plan that helps me determine where the money's going and how much is going. So right now, as we sit here at the end of the year, this is the time to calculate where every single dollar is going. Know your spending plan and take a look at the little hidden things, the stuff that's automatically drafted out of your checking account. If you've got 1, 2, or 3 gym memberships that you may not be using, get them cut. Let's take a look at every single thing that comes out of the checking account and where is the money going. So let's find out how much it takes. Now, number 2, have you got your emergency fund fully funded? If not, you've got to think creatively about how you're going to do it. If money is tight, you said, Mark, it's the holidays. I don't have the extra cash. And you still don't have an emergency fund, shame on you. You know you need it. We got to have 6 to 12 months of cash dollars in the savings account ready to go to pay for unplanned emergencies like a big recession where you got laid off. So it's time to find the money and get going. How do you do it? Garage sales, yard sales, extra jobs, increase revenue, cut expenses, increase revenue. Somebody ought to tell the Biden administration about something like this. Cut expenses. This needs to happen for many people watching this right now. So you got to have a spending plan. Where does the money go? We got to have an emergency fund. Now, really, the emergency fund should come first on the list, but many people don't know how much they're currently spending each month. That's why I said spending plan first. Then 6 months to 12 months in your savings account. Now, if you've got money in the markets, if you're in your 20s, your 30s, or your early 40s, reallocation may not be as important, but I would still take a hard look at where the dollars going into the markets is going and make sure it's allocated the way you want, because we're still going to see, we have not hit the bottom yet in my opinion. We are seeing some bounces like you see, but it's called a bear market bounce, or some people refer to it as a dead cat bounce. We've still got a little bit more to come off early next year. But if you're funding those accounts and they're going into the proper areas, think about this. You're buying good items on sale and you're going to get the power of dollar cost averaging. But wait a minute, if you're in that retirement red zone and you're 5 to 10 years from retirement, totally different. Make sure you've reallocated that portfolio before it gets any worse. Doesn't mean get out of the markets. That's not what I said. Reallocate the dollars. Make sure you're in the things that you want to be in going forward. Look for the companies that people are going to continue to use no matter what's going on in the world. We continue to purchase their items and they have a good likelihood of surviving or even thriving during a recession. How about this? If you're a younger worker, or maybe you're toward the end of the line in your working career, but it's not time yet, fall in love with your job. Remember, LIFO, last in, first out. Well, that's a form of accounting that I'm very familiar with, but it also works when it comes to employment. If you're the last one in, you could find yourself being the first one out when it comes to layoffs. Talk to your employer about what else you can do. How do you become the most valuable employee they have? This is not the time to be not that way. You want to absolutely be that valuable employee so you can get through this upcoming recession. And then don't be afraid to get the family involved. And what I mean by this is if you have children, talk to them about, hey, we're going to make some changes. Family night's going to be different. The movie night's going to be different. We're going to find creative ways. And listen, this may be the first recession they've ever been in, your children, but it won't be the last. Markets and economies are cyclical. So why not sit down with the family over a nice dinner at home and say, listen, we're going to make some changes around this household and prepare for what we believe is coming. And then if it's not as bad as we think it might be, that's awesome. But don't let it come by surprise. There's still time left to get yourself in a good position before the upcoming Great Recession.